What is going on, everybody? We got some stuff to talk about. I want to talk about the Phoenix Suns and Jimmy Butler, both a little bit. I already talked about Jimmy Butler, so I'm not going to dive too deep into that. I do want to talk about the Suns. I really want to talk about the Suns and how they're just imploding and how the future for them is looking pretty dark. I won't get too deep into it. I do want to give them some grace. I'm giving grace to the Lakers to talk about them and talk about their future and talk about how messed up their future is. I will also do the same for the Suns. That video will be coming sometime during All Star break, see if both teams can turn it around. But for Jimmy Butler and the Suns, they seem to be sort of intertwined at this point, and I just want to talk about it, how you could possibly get the deal done, and just a bunch of other stuff surrounding both Jimmy Butler and the Suns and Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, um, Devin Booker, Matt Ishbia, the owner of the Suns, sort of a little bit of Pat Riley and all this stuff. Um, we'll see how long this video is. I don't know, but if you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment them down below, and if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. This is one of these videos where it's just a hot topic. It's just stuff that's going on in the moment. This is also stuff we can look back on a year from now and be like, "Wow, we were totally wrong," or "Wow, we there were some good takes in here." um, So yeah, the latest report is that Jimmy Butler really just wants to go to the Suns. There were a couple of other teams that were rumored. Um, the Rockets, the Grizzlies somehow got into the conversation. And there is just some people that think he's just going to return to the Heat and play out the year and then just opt out of his contract, which I don't think is going to happen. Um, the Warriors were in the mix as well. They've dropped out of the race entirely, in pursuit of more realistic uh, players like Nikola Vucevic, Brandon Ingram. I guess I don't know, but I'm gonna read some odds here. These are the betting odds for the teams right now. The Rockets are at plus 500. The Pelicans plus 400. The Grizzlies plus 400. The Heat 125, and the Suns plus 175. Um, just to talk about these for a little bit, the Rockets dropped out completely. I don't think they want anything to do with Jimmy Butler. There is another world where something else happens. I'll get to that in a minute. The Pelicans, I haven't seen the Pelicans at all. That's very interesting to me. The Grizzlies, um, oh, sorry, I got a notification from Shams. I thought it was important. Um, the the Grizzlies, um, plus 400 again. Jimmy Butler said I don't want to play for the Grizzlies. Allegedly, supposedly. Um, I actually like that for Jimmy. I think that's a great culture for him. I think I think that the Grizzlies are just so underrated at this point that like I don't think Jimmy sees it. Returning to the Heat, I don't think he's returning to the Heat. I think Pat Riley has had enough of the Jimmy Butler circus. He after I made my last video, I think like 2 days after he got suspended, and he's been suspended. He hasn't played at all. And to go to the Suns is plus 75, 175. Pardon me. Now, for those who do not know, the thing with the Suns is the Suns um, have minimal assets, and they're sort of locked into this team. The latest is that their starting center, Yusef Nurkic, has been moved to the bench. Also, their starting shooting guard, Bradley Beal, has been moved to the bench as well by coach Mike Boonhoser. Um, I'm just going to pull up Bradley Beal's stats here real quick. Um, and Bradley Beal, I said, and I paraphrase, I should say, paraphrase. Um, when asked if he would waive his no trade if he would waive his no trade clause, because he does have a no trade clause, and this Jimmy Butler deal absolutely cannot be done if Bradley Beal does not waive his no trade clause. Um, when he was asked about it, he said something along the lines of, "No, I have all the power, and I'm going to do what I feel is best, and for what is best for me right now is staying in Phoenix and helping this team get back to a competitive level of playing basketball. The Phoenix Suns right now are 16 and 19 on the season. Um, they are not doing too hot. They finished last season 49 and 33, and the season before that 45 and 37. Um, and this is just years after. This is before Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal got there. In 2020, 2021, they went to the finals, and they have not even gotten to the Western Conference Finals. Um, and granted, this is Mike Budenholzer's first year as the head coach. Um, but I think the team is just so handcuffed right now. Um, Bradley Beal as a Phoenix Sun, um, 18 points, um, 4 assists, uh, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, shooting percentages of where is it? 41%, which isn't terrible, and 2 point percentage of 54. And he's played 78 games as a Phoenix Suns. Not even a full 82 game season yet. He's probably on course to play 82 games this year. He's only played 82 games 2 times in his career, for the record. He hasn't touched 80 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in 6 years. He hasn't touched 80 games in 6 years. Um, but he's on course to have played a full season sample size and will have full season sample size numbers. Um, Back to the Jimmy Butler and the Bradley Beal no trade clause thing. I see, if I'm Bradley Beal, that I'm not waiving my no trade clause just for you guys to trade me and get Jimmy Butler and me be stuck in Miami. Now, granted, the thought process for some people is, well, if I'm Bradley Beal, it's not like I'm getting sent to Detroit or um, Portland, or it's just somewhere obscure that's like sort of good but also bad, and I would just be a veteran guy on a wasting my last couple years. You'd be Miami, and Miami's fun and it's warm, and there's not really too much to complain about, and you'd be in the Heat culture. And at some point, the Heat have always been interested in everybody, but they've always been interested in Bradley Beal and adding a dynamic guard, and they just kind of ended up with Jimmy Butler, and ended up in the situation they're in now. But at the same time, I could see, if I'm Bradley Beal, why would I help you? You're trying to get rid of me. Why would I help you? I'm just gonna stay and make your life miserable. And maybe the ship does turn around. Maybe they do get better. Maybe they can turn it around. That's why I'm waiting to really get in depth on this and talk about how how screwed they are. But I just don't know. I just don't know if they can turn it around, just because they are just so handcuffed to this team. And the bigger conversation is adding Jimmy Butler the right thing to do? Is it the right thing to do? Um, because, like I've said in previous videos, Jimmy Butler is a ceiling raiser. He raises your ceiling. Every team he's been on in the past couple years, whether it been Minnesota, Philly, this Miami team, he has raised their ceiling. Now, granted, you have to put the team around Jimmy to continue to raise the ceiling, or whatever the case may be. And the Heat never attempted to do that. They never really went out there and got another guy. It was always just Bam, Tyler Hero, and Jimmy. And they never had a fourth guy, a supplemental guy to what you would call a big three. Um, and that was always disappointing to see. And Jimmy Butler could will them to a certain extent to finals appearances, conference finals appearances, but also they would sometimes just be a big flame out. Now, I say all that to say Bradley Beal waives his no trade clause. Say They get the deal done. Jimmy Butler's a Phoenix Sun. They have to resign him, one, because he's going to opt out of his deal. He's going to resign. He wants a long term deal. He wants more money. What what does a Phoenix Sun team look like with Jimmy Butler? That's my question. In in the West, where do they end up? I really don't know. I don't know where they would possibly end up. I think it's a I think it's an interesting idea. But I also think, and I've thought this with a lot of teams, is that sometimes you don't need the big guy. Sometimes you don't need a Jimmy Butler. Sometimes you just need supplemental pieces. And what happened with the inception of this Phoenix Suns team with Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant is that the new owner at the time, Matt Ishbia, wanted the big names, wanted the team to be competitive, and just went out and got the big names and tried to say this team's going to be competitive with these three guys on huge contracts. Devin Booker was on the first year of his mega max contract. Um, Kevin Durant sort of heading towards the end of his deal, where Matt Ishbia thought, oh, we could just get a bunch of other guys on minimum deals and we'd be competitive. You would still be sort of in the same situation with Jimmy Butler. You would just replace Bradley Beal, who's sort of been sort of not productive or not even healthy, and sort of a failure. Not to be disrespectful to Brad, but sort of a failure in Phoenix, and just you would just replace him with Jimmy Butler, who I think is a better player than Bradley Beal, but does he fit the system? Because Devin Booker hasn't looked like Devin Booker this season. Kevin Durant, you can never rely on being healthy anymore. He used to be he used to be more healthy, he used to be more reliable to play on pace to play whatever amount of games. What does he usually play? We can pull it up right now. Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, since the injury, which was in 2019, 2020, he was out the whole year. Um, he hasn't played 82 games. He played 75 in 2023, 2024, which is really good. That's the most he's played since his Achilles injury back in 2019, 2020. But could you rely if Kevin Durant goes down for an extended period of time? Could you rely on Jimmy Butler and Devin Booker to win you a few games? Personally, I like Jimmy Butler and Devin Booker more as a duo than Bradley Beal and Devin Booker currently. I'm just speaking in terms of this is all just a thought experiment. This is me just talking. But I like that better. But you still end up in the same financial situation where you're going to be paying Jimmy Butler, you're going to be paying you probably want to retain Kevin Durant. Jimmy Butler's how old's Jimmy Butler? Let me see. 13 years experience. He's 35. Kevin Durant, 36. When you really dive into it, the window has always been right now for the Phoenix Suns. The window has always been we have to win now. The window would be just so much shorter and so much more hostile or like aggressive. Like it has to get done in the next 3 years or it's just over. And then Devin Booker has to go. And that brings me to my other point where I will get more in depth in this hopefully in another video. But if none of this works out, let's just say Jimmy Butler trade happens, doesn't happen, whatever, right? Like I said, Devin Booker, the Phoenix Suns homegrown star, was slash is the best player in Phoenix Suns history. right? Drafted player, I should say, drafted player, because Charles Barkley's up there. He's an MVP, but he wasn't drafted. He's the best homegrown Phoenix Suns star, right? What happens with him time and time again? He's been through. Oh Lord, how many coaches has he been through? Let me see. Hold on, let's see. Let's see. He's been through a lot of coaches. Devin Booker, 2016. So he's been in the league since 2016. And scroll down to 2016, right here. So 2016, they draft Devin Booker, right? They've had Earl Watson, who was bad, Igor, who was not an NBA coach, but he's a good coach. He's still an assistant coach somewhere, I believe. Monty Williams, Frank Vogel, and Mike Budenholzer. He's been through one, two, three, four, five different coaches. Probably gonna be a sixth. Um, at what point does Devin Booker? Because Devin Booker is a one team guy. He seems like a one team guy. At what point does Devin Booker just say, "I'm over this. You guys have just mishandled this whole situation, these whole decade, essentially. It's going to be a decade next year of my career. You know, you've. Oh, my bad. There was an interim head coach as well. So he's had one, two, three, four, five, six. He's had seven coaches. Pardon me. Um, you've wasted a decade of my career. We've only made the finals once. And I like that. I like that Phoenix Suns team. That Phoenix Suns team with DeAndre and Mikal Bridges and Chris Paul more than I like this team right now. At what point does Devin Booker say, "Just I'm over it. I'm done with it"? You know. Or at what point does the Phoenix Suns say, "I don't think this would ever happen because Matt Ishbia is there and he's the owner. Let's just reset it." You know. And I was watching a an NBA YouTuber Kenny Beecham. Shout out KOT4Q. Um, and he had theorized that there's a team that's looking for a main guy, that's looking for a scorer, that's looking for a guy who's played all sorts of roles in Devin Booker, and that team's the Rockets. Devin Booker as a Rocket is interesting. I like that. I really do. I'm a big Devin Booker fan. I should have said that at the top. I like Devin Booker. I think he's such a unique player because he's been it all. He's been it all. He's been a guy on the bench in college, and a guy in the NBA, and then he started to make his name, and then he was the guy, and then they got him help, and now they've continuously got him help, but at what cost, right? And damn, I'm just looking at the coaches. My bad. Um, you know, at some point, you look at a guy who's played for your team for 10. No, this is his 10th year. Yeah, this is his 10th year. You look at a guy who's averaged 24 points for you. These are his career averages: 24 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, an 80, almost a 90% free throw shooter, 50% two point 2 point percentage, and a 35 3 point percentage. And you look at this, and he's been a one, two, three, four-time All-Star, and he's only made the finals once, and not even with this group, with the two other All-Stars, not even with this group. So it's a tough situation. I don't I when you dive into it a little bit more, and you replace Bradley Beal with Jimmy Butler. It's Kevin Durant, Jimmy Butler, and Devin Booker. It's two 30-year-olds and a guy who's just wants to get back to the finals. And not to say that the other two guys don't, but the timeline would just be so much more accelerated. And maybe that's what this team needs. Maybe this team needs to have their feet put to the fire a little bit more and have a little bit more urgency about this, and not just, oh, we're just gonna play basketball, this and that. because that hasn't worked. So maybe that is what they need. Maybe they do need a Jimmy Butler to get in people's faces and do this stuff. But there are some people that like Jimmy Butler, and there are some people that just that his personality is just too big, and his desire to win is just too big. And Devin Booker is also a guy who has been the guy. This is his team, and I think every team that Jimmy Butler has gone to, minus Philly, he was the guy. He was made to be the guy. So could Jimmy take a back seat? Could Jimmy not make Kevin Durant unhappy? Not make Devin Booker unhappy? I don't know. Kevin Durant has pretty thin skin. Um, I just think it needs to be a more nuanced conversation than, oh, just get rid of Bradley Beal and bring Jimmy Butler in and it will fix every problem the Phoenix Suns have ever had. I think that's just not that's not the way to go about these things. Um, I'm just scrolling through Twitter, seeing if I missed anything of importance about this situation. It doesn't look like it. Um, but yeah, this is going to be a very interesting. I think I said this in my last video about Jimmy Butler too. It's going to be a very interesting next couple months, seeing what Jimmy ends up, seeing what the Phoenix Suns do. Um, yeah, that's really all I have to say. I want to go a little more in depth on the Suns, but I'm going to give them grace for a little bit here. Wait till All Star break, um, and see what their real issues is, and see. Who knows, man? I don't want it to happen, but the head coach Mike Budenholzer. Stranger things have happened. He might be out the door. I think that'd be absolutely ridiculous because who else are you gonna get? But we'll see, man. NBA has always got something going on. It's always entertaining, and I love the drama. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys next time. Cheers.